Labour backtrack on a watering down of local inquiries to the grooming gangs. I noted last week that they come out and watered it down, and 2 days later, on public backlash, they backtracked and increased back to where they started from, with 5 local inquiries. But I've got issues with this. Stay tuned to find out why. Hello MV UK, welcome back to the channel. I'm Pete. I'm going to take you through a little bit of findings of what I was thinking about in this recent information that we had last week about the grooming gang scandal, the local inquiries that were actioned by the Home Secretary in January or February, I can't remember now. However, they promised 5 local inquiries which are not worth the paper they're written on, because they have no teeth. You can't summon somebody under the threat of a law. You can't get someone to court on a local inquiry. Now, the problem with this, I think, is Labour are backed into a corner on this, because this scandal has been going on for 30 plus years, which means at the moment in those local councils where these inquiries might happen, some of the perpetrators from 30 years ago are now in high level council positions, which is a house of cards. You pull the bottom one out and they'll all go down. Yes, so at the moment, Baroness Louise Casey is conducting a rapid national audit, which is believed to make recommendations on which towns those 5 local inquiries will go to. Now, Oldham has already confirmed that they would be happy to do one, but this is it. This Baroness Louise Casey can recommend, say for instance, she does a quick rapid audit, which I would imagine is, where are the complaints, the arrests, the assaults happening the most reported? We'll start there. So you're looking at places like Bradford, Luton, Birmingham, Leicester, London. Hang on, not London. Sadiq Khan, quite frankly the worst mayor in the history of the planet, cancelled, told the Met to stop investigating grooming gangs. Would you believe it? Why would he do that? What have you got to hide, Sadiq? What do you have to hide by cancelling the grooming gang investigation in London? I don't know. You say what you think. You make out what you think on that. I've got strong views. I best keep them to myself. Anyway, so once they have the 5 towns identified, there is a £5 million fund laid out for these inquiries. That is an utter disgrace. An utter disgrace, I tell you. And the reason being why, let's think about this. 5 million quid, so £1 million per inquiry, based on the sustained medieval attack on our children. £1 million is what our kids are worth in the eyes of the Labour government. Now, what's £1 million in today's market going to buy you? It's going to buy you a collector's car, a piece of art, a house, not a very big house, I might add. It won't even get you a stay for one night in some London hotels, some exclusive ones that we don't talk about. Anyway, I digress. But if we put this into comparison, some people, this is the problem with government. They look at everybody like little islanders, like peasants, and they say, oh yeah, they'll be like 5 million quid. It's a big number for the poor people. No, it's not, because what we are is we can compare things. Now we have freedom of information, we have the internet. We can actually start to see where things are. So if we take a look at the government's own data for how much money we've given to Ukraine, let's have a quick look at that. Get that on the right screen. Oh look, 15 billion pounds. That's billion, not million. 15 billion pounds. If you do some simple maths with just one other story, which is the Chagos Islands, about to cost us 19 billion pounds, i.e. to give away an island that we own and pay Mauritius for it. Incredibly bad negotiating. It's the worst deal in history. And you know what? Mauritius are coming back and saying it's not enough money. What an absolute bunch of chances. Anyway, so Combine those two together, you're looking at the stiff end of 40 billion pounds. Now I've done the maths on that so that you don't have to. Basically, if you just take Ukraine at 15 billion pounds and you divide it by 5 million pounds, which is what they say the value of our children is, it's 3,000 times less important than Ukraine, our children. So let that hang there for a second. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad that we got to the bottom that the actual paper that the money is written on is not worth its salt. There was another thing that I thought was quite suspicious. Now, call me a cynic, but if you take a look at this. So when I was Googling, I wanted to find, I've got a video coming up of Keir Starmer basically talking about his stance on Islamophobia, which quite frankly will make you shudder to your spine. I typed it in, as you can see here, Keir Starmer Islamophobia speech, and you can see the date in the bottom corner as I'm doing this today on Sunday, 13th, and you notice that their website, Labour Party, has a page for the Labour's Islamophobia policy, and that was updated, changed in layman's terms, 5 days ago. Hang on, so let's backtrack this. So Saturday, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Now, I think that is on the day or the day before the Labour Party come out with a dilution of this grooming gang scandal. So have they changed something on their website so that they don't get caught up in choppy waters by coming down a peg or two on trying to find perpetrators of the most heinous crimes in you could actually do? Anyway, so we've established. So Sir Trevor Phillips, he's come out criticising Labour's handling of inquiries into grooming gangs, asserting that it's politically motivated and shameful due to concerns of demographics involved in these cases. As too did my first video of this episode. Now I'm going to be tuning in, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this case as we progress, because like Charlie Peters of GB News says, who's phenomenal, follow him on X, phenomenal at looking and holding these people to account. This lady, wow. Normally I share the screen so you can see my reaction to it, but I've got to warn you, this is a really hard video to watch. And she stood up in the House of Commons in Parliament and delivered this. It's about 5 minutes long, so stay with it. I'm going to put it full screen. I don't want you to see my reactions to this. And I'm going to put a warning on this. So there's some descriptions that are extremely graphic. They will upset you if you're easily offended or triggered by this subject. So if you're watching this and you're sensitive to this, we're all sensitive to this, believe you me. But if you've been affected by this, then, you know, I'm just putting it out there. This politician in this video describes things that have taken place that you wouldn't even think in like some kind of movie. You just don't think this it's incredible. Anyway, listen, I'm going to cut to this, quite somber because this is serious. I'm going to come back at the end of it. Then we're going to have a look at a video from Keir Starmer. You will not be able to breathe at the end of that. So here we go.
And I thank the Minister for advance sight of her statement. In January, the Home Secretary said the government would conduct 5 local inquiries into the rape gangs which have terrorised so many innocent children. Over 3 months since the government announced these local inquiries, Tom Crowther KC, a barrister invited by the Home Office to help establish them, knows almost nothing about their progress, and neither do we. Why is the framework for local inquiries now being led by ministers rather than by independent voices such as Tom Crowther? Why is the £5 million set aside for inquiries no longer being allocated, but instead delivered on an opt-in basis? And what does the government intend to do about local leaders who say there is no need for an independent inquiry, like in Bradford or in Wales? The girls we are talking about, Mr. Speaker, are predominantly white. The men who preyed on them were predominantly Muslim, generally either from Pakistan or of Pakistani heritage. One of the victims from Dewsbury was told by her rapist, I quote, "We're here to fuck all the white girls and fuck the government." Will the minister accept that, in many cases, these crimes were racially and religiously aggravated? How, without a national inquiry, can we understand what part these factors played? There is no question that the state has failed these children time and again. Take the case of Anna from Bradford. Vulnerable and in residential care, at the age of 14, she made repeated reports of rape and abuse to social workers who were responsible for her. But just the following year, aged 15, she married her abuser in a traditional Islamic wedding ceremony. Far from stepping in to stop it, her social worker was aghast. The authorities then arranged for her to be fostered by her abuser's parents. The ringleader of the Rochdale rape gang, Shabir Ahmed, was employed as a welfare rights officer by Oldham Council. And yet not one person, not one, has been convicted for covering up these institutionalised rapes. So why have ministers refused to establish a dedicated unit in the National Crime Agency to investigate councillors and officials accused of collusion and corruption? And I am sorry to say that that unit, Mr. Speaker, must also investigate police officers. In one case, the father of an abuse victim in Rotherham was arrested by South Yorkshire Police when he attempted to rescue his daughter from her abusers. He was detained twice in one night, while on the very same evening, his daughter was repeatedly assaulted and abused by a gang of men. It is clear these criminals were unafraid of law enforcement. In Kirklees, Judge Marson said, "You were seen with your victim on at least 3 occasions by the police. None of that deterred you, and you continued to rape her." How, without a national inquiry, can we know how and why these monsters enjoyed effective immunity for so long? And how can we be sure it will not happen again? We on this side of the House have voted for a national inquiry and tabled amendments which would guarantee the publication of ethnicity data on a quarterly basis, terminate the parental rights of convicted sex offenders, and make membership of a grooming gang an aggravating factor during sentencing so that offenders get the longer, harsher sentences they deserve. Will the minister commit today to adopting these amendments to protect our children? Finally, I would like to read to the House one particular ordeal, just one example of what these children have suffered. I must warn colleagues, and especially those in the gallery, that this is extremely graphic, but we must not look away or sanitise this evil. Sentencing Mohammed Karar of Oxford to life in prison, Judge Peter Rook said, "You prepared your victim, a 13-year-old girl, for gang anal rape by using a pump to expand her anal passage. You subjected her to gang rape by 5 or 6 men. At one point, she had 4 men inside her. A red ball was placed in her mouth to keep her quiet. When she was 12, after raping her, she threatened you with your lock knife. Your reaction was to pick up a baseball bat with a silver metal handle, strike her on the head with it, and then insert it inside her vagina. This is not about me. It is not about the minister or the Home Secretary or any of us in this chamber. It is about them. Little girls up and down our country whose brutal and repeated rapes were permitted and hidden by those in the British state whose job was to protect them. They deserve justice. In 5 towns, these children and their families may get partial answers. But I have mentioned 5 towns in the last few minutes alone, and there are at least 45 more. In those places, they will get no answers at all. What does the minister have to say to them? The British people deserve to know the truth. What darker truths does the suffering of these girls reveal about this country? And why won't the government find out?
Okay, welcome back. I mean, there's not much more you can say to that, right? That is absolutely horrific. Horrific. And you know what? This hasn't been stopped. This is still happening. Right now, probably in a town where you are, this is happening. This is why Labour doesn't want this to be investigated properly, because this is the biggest scandal in the UK's history. Mega scandal. And it is going to destroy the fabric of everything they've been pushing on us for decades. Anyway, I'm so angry, and I feel powerless with it. You know, if you look at people, they're in prison right now for bringing this to the forelight. It's been stamped on. It's been cancelled, silenced, extinguished. It's been got rid of at the highest level with pace. Look at the riots last year. People are concerned about what's happened in Southport. I mean, it's like, I'm laughing at what the metaphor I'm going to give. It's like the Naked Gun films where it's all exploding in the background, and Leslie Nielsen's there like saying, "Move on, nothing to see here," and it literally like Armageddon behind him. It's like that last year. You know, we knew the guy who did it, what he was about, and for elocuting that online or in person, you were thrown in jail. Unbelievable. So anyway, you would hope after hearing that and seeing that video that we would have some strong action from our government, a government that wants to protect its people, its children, the future of this country. Listen to what Keir Starmer has to say about Islamophobia. And then I challenge you to watch it back and replace the word Muslim with Jew or black or Indian or Christian. Here we go. Roll the clip.
This Islamophobia Awareness Month comes at a deeply troubling time for Muslim communities across Britain. We've seen a devastating rise in Islamophobia, leaving people feeling fearful and unsafe in their own country. I've heard firsthand of women wearing hijab who are too scared to travel by public transport, of Muslim families being abused as they leave the mosque. Hate crimes are deeply damaging, both for every affected victim, but for communities. And we all bear a responsibility to do all we can to stamp out hate. The surge in Islamophobia is simply appalling. Muslim women and girls disproportionately targeted, mosques forced to ramp up security, and British Muslims questioned as if they are terrorists. All in an environment of a Tory government that thinks that their divisive language and policy don't matter. They would rather stoke division than bring communities together. I do not want Britain to be a place where British Muslims are not able to be their whole selves, where they feel they must hide or tone down who they are for fear of being attached to views that are not their own, where they're asked to apologise for the actions of people who do not act in their name. Our Britain is one where the enormous contributions of British Muslims are recognised and celebrated, their stories heard, their lives free from discrimination. As leader of the Labour Party, I am indebted to the contributions of Muslim members, activists and politicians who make our party what it is today. I'd like to thank Muslim organisations and mosques who work tirelessly to raise awareness and shine a light on the scale of Islamophobia. My Labour Party is committed to work closely with all communities to ensure they have the security they need to feel safe. A Labour government will tackle religious discrimination and racism across society. We cannot allow community cohesion in our country to be destroyed. If Labour is elected to form Britain's next government, we will be a government for everyone, one that unites, not divides.
Wow, you heard it there yourself. Let me just get rid of that. You heard it there yourself. Wow. So there's a guy who literally, like I said, just replace every time he said the word Muslim with Jew, or God forbid Christian. And you have a guy there who is a complete and utter anti-Semite. Here's what it is, from my opinion, my eyes, my humble opinion. is his majority voter base across the north and northwest and northeast of England and a lot of London is predominantly Muslim. This is why they don't want voter IDs, because what happens is the 5 polling cards go to the family in a lot of cases, not all cases I must say, and the father of the family say, all right, here we go, this is who everyone's voting for, and then they go and drop them off at the polling, and that's that. They don't get their own votes. They don't get the autonomy to make their own votes in the cubicle, regardless of who might suggest something. You don't get that opportunity. It's suppression, it's domination, not integration, and it's a worry, it's a problem. And at the moment, Keir Starmer and his cronies don't seem to think there is an issue with the wide-scale industrial assault, attack and abuse on our our youngest, nearest and dearest. I'm trying to stay away from certain words that trigger YouTube off, because I want my findings here to be seen by many people. So if you found value in what I'm doing, in what I've found so far, how I'm delivering it, and I am going to stay attuned of this subject as well. This is not coming off my radar, people. Do me a favour and hit the like button or subscribe. I noticed that a vast majority of you guys who watch this don't subscribe. It would mean the world to me if you did that. Thank you very much, and I'll leave you guys there. So that's Pete from MV UK. I'll see you on the next video.